Oh, hello. We have some people who are early right here. Hello, guys. It's nice to meet you guys. Anyway, thank you guys for coming here early. So if everybody could please turn on your cameras, then let's go right ahead and essentially, well, start class in a quick bit. It won't be like immediately because I'm sure that there will be some people who will be late right here. And oh my gosh, Junyi, you have turned on the camera. You are the first person right there. My gosh, like how's it going? How's your mom doing?
She's doing okay.
Okay, that's great. Cool, 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 cool. Yeah. So well, thank you for dropping by for the class, and I look forward to giving you a good experience. Cool. And I see that you're sitting on the IKEA markers. Just a little fact right there. Hello, Casper. Oh my God, you turned on your camera for a brief moment. Oh. Okay. Hello. How's it going? Yes. Welcome to class. And hello, Dash underscore Dash. Wow, it's nice to meet you, and welcome to class. So cameras on, please. Ladies and gentlemen, hello Ezra. Welcome to class. Ladies and gentlemen, cameras on, please. Oh my gosh, yes, it's good to see you guys right here. And hello, and look forward to an awesome class together with all of you right here. Okay, so I think that we're getting a couple of other people who are coming in at the moment. Hello, Xin Yi. Nice to wow, I love your background. That's like Mickey Mouse right there, and then like you've got a whole bunch of like other creatures right here. Hello, Gabriela. Nice to meet you. Thank you for
Hello,
dropping.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. All right. Thank you all for dropping in. All right, cool, cool. And we have Si Eun right here. Okay. So I know that there'll be some people just dropping in for a bit right here, but I do want to get a read of the room for a quick bit right here. Out of curiosity, right? Okay, so if you could pay attention to the chat for a quick bit, so I'm just gonna ask you guys. So if you have already taken first language English, then please type a one as a as a message in the chat. So like you've already experienced first language English classes, then yeah, go right ahead and essentially type that in the chat. If you have not, then basically then just type a zero in the chat. So then that'll be great. Thank you so much. And hello, Gloria, welcome. So then yeah, okay, so that's a zero right there. That's the first one. I'm getting also like some
AirPod 入邊啊？我 AirPod
yes. Okay, cool. Let's just like temporarily. Okay, cool. All right. So we have a couple of people saying okay, well Gabriela has said one right there, and then okay, most people have said zero. Junie, I don't know what iderk means. Like what does iderk mean? Okay, I don't know. Okay, got it. All right, anyway, and then we have one more person right here. Hello, Karina. Welcome, and thank you for dropping by for this trial class. Okay, amazing. Cool, cool, cool. Awesome. Great. Okay, so it looks like most of you don't really have experience with the first language English curriculum. Well, I do, and that's why I'm here, basically serving as your teacher. And it's a pleasure to meet every single one of you. And let us go right ahead and start. Okay, great. So hope everybody is doing well today, and thank you for dedicating your precious 7:30 p.m. until 9 p.m. to this time together with me. I'm teacher Victor, and I will be serving as your first language English instructor if you're interested to join in on this class. So then, yeah, just to share a little bit about me right here. So I created a website, englishfirstlanguage.net. Even if you don't join this class, you can just go ahead and use it for free. It's a passion project that I created that basically it contains like some information about the well first language English curriculum. So I created it because I'm just pretty interested in this particular curriculum, and I think that's a really exciting way of developing human capital. So I've written essentially a bunch of different books related to first language English. And I also teach a regular group class that takes place on Thursday evening, 7:30 p.m. till 9 p.m., which you can enroll in. It has about 14, 15 students thereabouts at the moment, and it'll be an honor to basically serve you. But anyway, so like that's even before I tell you more about like the class itself. But if you want to essentially have free access to basically just learn about English as a first language or the curriculum at large, then you can go right ahead and just read all these different guides I've created right here. So yeah, so just on a I guess like note of curiosity, right? Okay. So okay, just want to know, can you guys maybe type the name of your school in the chat? So like just like really briefly like type the name of your school. I don't know, like it could be like Okay, all right, GIS. Wow, that's really, really quick. Okay, amazing. All right, so we have like one Garden International School right here. And do you have like some Sri KDU kids in here? I don't know. Okay. Is that okay? Taylor's, is it? Okay, yeah, so like name of your school. So name of your school. And also okay, one more thing. And also your year. Because I know that some of you are not always uh guaranteed to be like in year 10 or whatever have you, right? Like some of you are a bit younger, and I think that you just want to understand, I guess, like the style of my teaching as well. Yeah, so like if you could do that in chat, then yeah, it will help me to understand a little bit better as well. Okay, great. All right, so we have like some ELC International School kids right here. All right, amazing. Queen Light. Okay, yes. I have heard of that before, and okay, got it. Oh, okay. We have a couple of people who are homeschooled. Amazing. So thank you and welcome. Once again, right here. Ooh, Stellar Academy. I have not heard about that before, but well, that's first time right here. You are essentially a star. You're literally a star. Amazing. Cool. Okay, great. So, all right, without further ado, I'm just gonna go right ahead, show you the agenda. So usually what I'll do is I'll prepare sort of like structure for the class like this so that you guys can actually listen in. Also just as a note, right? So these classes, they tend to be pretty participatory, right? So sometimes what I'll do is I'll literally like call out and then just ask you guys, hey, can you answer this question right here? So it's good to know that you know, you can afford to not be shy right there. So like your ego, right? I think you will learn like throughout life, right? Like maybe when you're young, you would think to yourself, okay, if I make a mistake, I'll get scolded by the teacher right there. I'll be embarrassed, that kind of thing. You soon realize over time that like, being embarrassed, it's not really like, like something that will end your life. Rather, it's a stepping stone towards growth. And I'm sure that like almost anyone out there who has grown in a strong capacity right there has been embarrassed in many different ways. So yeah, so thank you all for turning on your cameras. It's an absolute pleasure to essentially be here in the course of the session with you. So for today, the objectives of our session are simply as such. So we're obviously not going to go through every single thing in the first language English curriculum. No. That would be very difficult right there. It would require like me to upload everything into your mind at like 15 gigabytes per second, that kind of thing. You are not computer, so like that's not really gonna work. But anyway, so just briefly, you'll get to meet me, understand like how I can help. Maybe also understand a little bit about the first language English syllabus, because I think that most of you aren't really familiar with the syllabus at the moment. You understand some common challenges. We'll do a little bit of descriptive writing in terms of like a demonstration right here, just to illustrate the kind of thing that you might be asked to do in the course of your first language English curriculum. And we'll also be looking at the mark schemes that are associated with essentially these papers right here. I'll actually show you like some of the papers so that you'll know what these are actually like. Then yeah, at the end of it, then hopefully you'll understand what you will get in this class. Okay, great. Okay, so just to briefly understand, I guess like who I am right here. So my name is Victor. I am the founder of the education company, Ascendant Academy, and the website EnglishFirstLanguage.net, which you saw earlier. So then in terms of academic qualifications, so then yeah, like all this stuff right here is kind of like boring, like perfect score for SAT, 8.5 out of 9 for IELTS. You may not even know what these are just yet, but like if you intend to take these at a later point, then you can ask me about these. So then I have an A star for IGCSE first language English, and also an A plus in SPM English and a TEFL certification. If you don't know what this is, it's basically teaching of English as a foreign language. So then was a JPA scholar at the University of Chicago, and basically have served more than 500 students across like the SAT, IB, IGCSE, A levels, and essentially have students at Harvard, Yale, Stanford, and a couple of other places here and there in the US and the UK. Also, if you search my name on YouTube, you may find a little YouTube series in which I interview like different students from different universities across, I guess, like the US and the UK here and there. But anyway, like yeah, that's for you to find. I also review ergonomic chairs, but for example, right now I know that Judy is sitting on an IKEA Marcus, for example. Yeah, no, seriously, like search it, like IKEA, IKEA space MARKUS. I know, I know, Judy, I know. And speaking of which, I'm also Junie's sister's one of Judy's sister's oldest friends right there. Well, actually oldest friends. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, friend. Okay, anyway, so kind of moving on right here. If you want to scan the QR code right here to text me for whatever reason right here, then you can. If you want to ask questions as well, that's also fine. You can just reach out individually. Anyway, okay. So just kind of looking at like the May June results right here. So we got a total of 15 A stars and 4 A's for students. And this 1 A star right here is me, because like this happened actually. So um a lot of the students basically that I was working with were kind of like surprised, because like what happened was that and I actually made a video about this. So like I actually showed up at the exam hall, right? And I went and took the exam along with them. Yeah, I don't know. Like it might have been a bit of a strange thing for my students to really think about right here, but like you should have seen the messages that they were like sending me. They were like, what? Why on earth would you do that? And yeah, it was a fun experience right here. But anyway, yeah, so like hopefully, right. So in this class right here, I I know that like in an exam focused system, like of course the results are your, like in many cases, like a goal, right, that you aspire towards. I think it's very good for you to aspire towards that goal, right? Like, don't get me wrong, right? Because like a lot of people, like they tend to have a very hand wavy, like, yeah, no lah, it's about like enjoying the education, that kind of thing. It's true, you can enjoy the education, but it's not in like it's not essentially in exclusion, right, to being able to do well. Like you can both do well and also enjoy the subject. There is no false dilemma between, well, enjoying a subject and being able to do academically well, because the whole point of an academic result is meant to essentially measure how well you can actually do, right, under like a system of constraints that operationalize your ability and stuff of that nature right there. But anyway, let's not dwell too much on this right here. So those are the results. And I wanted to basically test if the things that I was teaching actually work, and as it turns out, they do. But yeah, so anyway, kind of moving on right here. So just like some other random things you may find right here and there. I review shares. I think you told you this already. Yeah, so like some other things. I learned Korean. That's my little class right here. Enjoy AI art. I think like some of you may have like very strong opinions about this. Like in the previous trial class, so like somebody had yeah, like some pretty strong opinions, which was interesting to discuss. But like I do a lot of like AI related workshops and create online courses right here. Like for example, I conduct corporate trainings for companies like Top Glove. So this was actually the largest corporate training in Top Glove history. It was 250 something participants right here. And it was about ChatGPT. Of course, there's classes right here with you guys. And yeah, so I'm not sure, by the way, if any of you like have any initial questions, right? But if you have any initial questions, then feel free to like just like like do the whole hand raising thing, or like essentially just like drop a message in the chat. And if I can, and it doesn't like too overtly interrupt the flow of the class, then I'll do my best to help you guys. Okay. All right, so well, I guess that you guys have kind of met me already. I've kind of met you already in the sense that I just know like which school you went to. Junyi, really, like your chair is called IKEA Marcus. You don't believe me? Like seriously, like just go and search it. IKEA Marcus. I know my chair's okay. I'm 100% confident in my chair knowledge right here. I could be. Oh, okay. All right. Oh, you did. Oh, you did search it out. Okay, all right. So you know. Okay. Sorry, I think that this is like a weird part of my personality.
Teacher,
Yes, what's up?
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
How can a chair be made out of marker pens?
Is that a riddle, or is that like
confused?
I think that's like
you said markers. I don't understand.
oh no.
Type
So
of
like
markers.
the name is Markus. Okay. How about this? I'll search it out for you. Okay. But not too long because we do have an agenda to go through right here. Marcus IKEA. Okay. So like this is basically what it is, right? So in fact, the one that he has is like exactly this one. It's basically a low price ergonomic chair. It's about like 500 ish, I think. So like the IKEA actually also has a Jar Jale, which is like
500 is low price.
yeah.
Already very expensive.
Okay, well, just for your information, do you see this one right here? So it has like a Stein looking thing, right? It looks like it has a Stein and everything like that right there. Okay.
It looks weird.
It looks weird. Yeah, that's good. I mean, like that's yeah, that one is 8,000. So yeah, just I like my chairs, right? There are various reasons as to why I enjoy chairs right here, but like I do believe that like learning and teaching and doing everything else out there, right? It's actually good to do it in a comfortable environment. If you enjoy like your learning, if you feel like there's no part of your body that's being restrained by something out there, and you feel that your mind can truly go free, right? Then I think that that's really the best environment in which you can thrive. You may think to yourself that comfort is only for sport kids or it's only for like just like all those like sots who don't understand what it means to grow through suffering. I assure you, like that there are many different philosophies out there. And of course, like the grand task of the philosopher, English teacher, trainer, whatever have you, is to explore all possibilities. But I submit simply the possibility to you right there that yeah, like maybe a chair might be good for you. And if you want to do a fun project, right? So like search the chairs that Anwar, Ibrahim, and Mahathir sit on. Okay, you can go ahead and do that later. I'm not gonna do it now. Okay, we have an agenda to go through, friends. We have to be done with. Okay, no, we don't have to be like super done lah. I mean, like I will see some of you guys later on. Okay, so like we can talk more about this later. Anyway, okay. So right, I hope that addressed the question. It's markers, not marker. Okay, so Sinyi, gotta be careful right there. Okay, you can't just like say like, oh, it sounded like a word that I knew right there, therefore it must be the word. No, you have to be careful. Okay, don't just like don't just make that assumption. Okay, you have to like actually search things up. Yeah. So anyway, moving on. Okay, so all right. Now you might be wondering to yourself, why? Okay, why go for a class? Why dedicate your 1.5 hours and maybe also some time for homework, basically every single week? Actually, I'm just curious. Like you know, it's maybe better if I can ask you guys right here actually if you can yeah, so like why are you here in this class? Actually, I shouldn't say like why are you here in this class, because like probably like what will happen is that like you were like basically 9 out of 10 of you will say like, oh, my mom forced me to be here. Okay, I think that's probably the case right here. But okay, why do you need a class? Okay, I mean like just think of it as an opportunity for you to honestly evaluate yourself, right? Because like a very strong component of this class right here is like really yeah, like I ask you to evaluate yourselves, right? And I ask you to in fact like understand like different criteria essentially. So like literally I ask some of my students, right, to literally grade like essays right here and actually provide justifications for each individual grade based on the mark schemes. I'm not telling you to become obsessed with mark schemes. I'm not telling you to basically, and by the way, like these are all sample essays, right, from the students who are in the class. So you can actually see that there's like a range of different like abilities right here. So you should not like feel afraid just because like your level, like you should not feel afraid that your level is too high or your level is too low. Because like in all cases, right, what I will do is I will provide personalized feedback on your assignments, right, to essentially help you to understand like different aspects of your learning. Because actually the learning that you receive, right, just from hearing me speak, probably like the absorption rate is probably like less than like I don't know like 50% or something like that. Especially like you know it's an online class, but also an in-person class, right? Like what's your absorption rate going to be? Are you going to absorb everything? No, of course you're not. So you have to practice. Practice is essential, and yeah, we'll work on that. Anyway, yeah. So like, why do you need a class? Okay, I'm gonna ask a random person. Okay, so like, Gloria. So like, are you there? I can see you like just mouthing out the words right here. So like, I'm guessing that. Okay, yes, I'm gonna click ask to unmute right here. High pressure situation. Are you there? Gloria, what's up? How's it going? Okay, you see? Is it convenient for you to see? Okay, sure. All right, amazing. Okay, Gabriela, can I ask you if that's all right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, like, in what way do you think that like maybe like you might need a class? Like, in what way would you potentially want to improve? I don't know.
Like to better my understanding in English IGCSE.
Okay, sure. All right. Then in that case, then yeah, like we'll talk a little bit about the syllabus for sure, and also some of the various other things that you're gonna get along with essentially the support. All right, cool. So thank you for that. So all right. In that case, then like I'll just like essentially talk to you about what you'll get in the class as a start right here. So you'll understand how to do well in the IGCSE first language English. That is essentially my promise to you, that you understand how. And it will be a collaboration between me and you, essentially, as we go through this process right here, because like I can deliver certain things, but if you essentially don't work on them right there, that it may be hard for you to actually get the result that you personally want. Okay. But if you actually do go forth with essentially some of the advice I'm giving, then you'll be well on your way towards where you need to be. But I can't guarantee it. I mean, like some people they want to guarantee, right? But I can honestly tell you right now, I cannot guarantee you anything because it really depends on your own effort and what you personally choose to do. All right, anyway, I will give you ample guidance, feedback, practice opportunities. I will, in the event that you make a grammatical error, be able to explain to you exactly why it is that you make a grammatical error. Sometimes I will do it live. Actually, in most cases, I will do it live. Like it can be like in situations where you are randomly saying something, or whatever have you right there, then I can essentially like provide that feedback to you. I will tailor essentially these lessons towards the Cambridge syllabus. We will look at past year papers. If you essentially have a look right at the folders I essentially have prepared for you guys right here. So like what you're eventually going to see is that, well, you will have access to essentially past year papers from each individual year, right? So that's going to be part of your enrollment, and you will be able to see and access essentially these past year papers as part of essentially your classes. And you're also going to see, by the way, like the mark schemes, which are going to be super important. And if you don't know what mark schemes are, if you've never used and you're actually, yeah, like show of hands, right? Or not really like show of hands. Oh, Gloria, you added in a really to your nothing. Okay, amazing. Wow. Okay, love that. Okay, so just want to get like not show of hands lah, right? Like because you're not actually going to be raising your hands. So like how many of you out there have used mark schemes before? So like have used mark schemes, please go right ahead and type a 1 in the chat. And yeah, basically if you have not, then so like please hit 0. Okay. All right. Okay. So we have some people out there who have never used them before, right there. Casper, you have used a mark scheme before. Amazing, great. Ezra, you have not used mark scheme before. Okay, no problem. That's fine. Karina, you have not used a mark scheme before. That's also okay. I'm just going to tell you right here that this is going to be super important, right? But it's a necessary condition, but it's not a sufficient condition for you to understand. Okay, so like you can Google this a little bit later on. Necessary but not sufficient. Okay, this is so like understanding this thing right here that I'm showing you right here, this mark scheme thing, is a necessary condition for succeeding in your IGCSE exams, but it's not sufficient, which means that basically like you need to understand this, right? But just understanding how this works right here is not going to get you the A star that you want. Okay, we'll go into a discussion later of like what is actually needed for an A star. But anyway, so these mark schemes basically they'll tell you like all the answers and all the rubrics, criteria, whatever, right? That Cambridge has decided for essentially like what is good. So like basically this each one of these documents, right? What happens every single year when people take the IGCSE exams is that literal groups of people, so like teachers and like examiners, whatever, right? They'll crowd together in rooms, right? And then they will just take these papers right there, look at every single essay, and then like assign marks to them based on this paper. And so like you might think to yourself that basically it's all random one, right? English is very subjective. No, not true. Basically, the examiners who mark your papers, right, they need to be able to justify to their head examiner. Like even they have teams, like they have teams where they have to like justify to the people around them, hey, this is why I gave this particular grade. This is why everything of that nature right there. So very important to know about this right here. Anyway, so yeah, but before we even go into that right there, so we have yet to discuss the syllabus, so let's go into that shortly. You will learn about lots of different kinds of resources, which I have prepared for you guys. I have essentially a whole resources folder right here. I mean, like, honestly, like, if you want to just, like, randomly search resources, right, then, like, you'll see essentially that there's actually quite a number of, like, different resources right here. This one is, like, actually about, like, linguistics, which is kind of related, kind of not to essentially the kinds of things that you are essentially going to be learning about right here. So like sometimes I'll upload the post discussion versions of this right here, so you can actually see the kinds of things that we'll be talking about in class. So different kinds of like examples right here. this one actually contains like some sentences that were, I guess, like discussed by previous students, the ones who came before you right here. But anyway, yeah, so we'll discuss a lot of these different things. So by the end of each class, so then hopefully you have a fun and engaging time learning about language, while at the same time understanding how, well, you can actually use these different types of language right here in order to enrich your essays and essentially consider like numerous examples, right, of how to essentially use these different types of things. So you'll see essentially in the course of I guess like your enrollment, like if you choose to enroll in this class, then you will receive a free essay book with essays that have been graded essentially to essentially A-star level right here, along with justification for why they have been graded to A-star level. Again, necessary but not sufficient. You will get grammar guidance, necessary but not sufficient. And you also get premium access to this website right here, which is essentially, well, yeah, this thing right here. So like if you, so basically like what happens is that if you choose to purchase access, then you will essentially get access to this thing right here. So like it is essentially an essay bank that contains essentially essays from like both my students as well as for myself right here, that essentially have been graded yet again to like the highest possible standards. And yeah, there are lots of different comments right here as to why is that the essays happen to be good. And yeah, so that's essentially something that you're going to get along the way. Cool. Anyway, so now let me also note that like yeah, I can provide you with mentorship beyond the IGCSE if you're interested in like college applications and scholarships. So again, I do interact very extensively with people who are applying to like universities in the US, in the UK, and also I run like several communities like A Levels Malaysia, IBDP Malaysia. I'm the admin of like all of these different communities right here, and yeah, it's something just to consider if you're interested in kind of like thinking about that. But now let's move on to the next part of our discussion, which is basically looking at the syllabus, okay, for first language English. So I'm going to subdivide this into two parts, right? First part, we're going to look at the actual syllabus right here. So this is essentially going to be the 2024 to 2026 syllabus. I'm assuming that none of you are taking the 2023 syllabus. No, like not considered right here. But yeah, so it's not really significantly changed relative to the previous variants of the IGCSE. So, but yeah, let's start actually with like what this exam is right here, because I think that there's a good chance that some of you out there have not actually taken an international exam before. You may have taken like checkpoint or otherwise, right? But maybe not something on the scale of the IGCSE. Okay, so IGCSE, actually like I'm just gonna ask, like, does anybody here know what IGCSE stands for? I mean, like, does anybody know? I mean, like, I'm just like looking right here at expressions. Ezra, do you know? Ezra is like no, okay, shaking the head. Okay, all right. Karina, do you know? Amanda, Zhongjie, can I see those cameras on, please? Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh! You actually responded. Yes. Okay, cool. Karina, is that hit shake?
No.
No. Tsuan. Am I pronouncing that correctly? By the way, I feel like oh my gosh. Okay, great. Do you know what IGCSE is? Okay, yeah, I guess I can't abandon my job as a teacher just yet. Anyway, so IGCSE just means international, basically general certificate of secondary education. It's not super important that you know this right here. It's not part of your like evaluation criteria, whatever stuff right there. But essentially, it's an international examination that is used pretty much for, well, providing evidence that you essentially have a secondary school qualification. If you're homeschooled, right? So like you might wonder to yourself, why couldn't I just remain homeschooled all the while? Why do I need to take this stupid examination? And the answer to that is that, unfortunately, right? So whether you're homeschooled or not homeschooled, you need to go to university, and universities generally will want some evidence, right, that you have essentially a secondary school qualification. Because the idea here is that, like, especially you're applying to a selective university, you need to basically have, well, some track record, right, of actually doing well according to international standards. So that's the general thinking. And you should also have something that's calibrated to the international standard. Because you might have essentially a very good homeschooling curriculum, right? And it may even be better than IGCSE. But if let's say, for example, right, your homeschooling is like very good, but then you're unable to do well on IGCSE, then there's a problem, right? Because like that is tailored to an international standard. I'm not saying that the IGCSE is perfect, because like there are some ways in which it can definitely be improved. I have my own thoughts about that, but well, that international standard right there is accepted essentially by universities around the world. It can be used essentially as a way of eliminating the need for language qualifications on your part, and essentially also will stand you in good stead. The particular curriculum that you are taking right here is, well, the first language English curriculum. Okay, does anybody know right here, like, what's the difference between first language English and second language English? First, second, first, second, first, second. Anybody know? Can I ask, like, oh, Karina, you're like nodding your head right there. Okay, I'm just thinking that you do know. Yeah. What's up, Karina? How's
First
it going?
language is the first language you speak, and then the second language is, for example, if your first language is French, your second language is English, then it's considered a second language.
Yeah, exactly. Great.
Basically, second language exam is easier than first language exam.
Okay, it's good that you said that right there. Okay, now I want to ask you a follow up question. Okay, so we cannot just ask students simple questions, otherwise like they'll end up thinking, yeah, very simple one lah. Oh, sorry, Malaysian accent right there. But anyway, I will do that like once in a while. Okay, but Karina, is it easier to get an A star on the English as a second language exam? Is it easier?
If you're a first language English speaker, then yes.
Is it? Are you sure? Okay. Well, in that case, then let's have a look at some statistics, which I compiled a while ago, actually. So yeah, I actually did this analysis right here, and there's an explanation that has been performed right here. I actually like am quite a fan of like numbers as well. So I do like enjoy both numbers and also like math as well. But essentially, like, okay, if you don't care about like how this was actually obtained, right? Basically, in order for you to get an A star in first language English, basically you just need to get like 70. Okay, so this is just historical, right? It's just based on the October-November exams right here. But broadly, the boundaries remain the same across the years right here. If you want to get like an A star, then basically then you need to just get 75% of the paper's marks right here. Whereas on the other hand, if you want to get, in fact, an A star for the English as a second language exam right there, then you need to get like 91.7 absolute out of like the entire paper on average. So is it easier? Is it harder? I don't know. But at least what I've seen, right? But I have a limited sample space, right? So like you have to be very careful when you talk about statistics like this, right? And I prefer not to make general conclusions or like sweeping generalizations right there that just like, you know, completely understate the trend or misexplain it. But I would say that what I have seen from the limited extent I've seen of students who take the English as a second language paper, many of them actually do not get A stars, and it's actually more common. It's actually more common for me to see students with like higher grades on first language English than on English as second language. Of course, I think Karina, that your answer was very good. You know why? Because you said, if you're a speaker, if you are a first language English speaker, then it is going to be easier for you to get an A star. I like that. You know why? Because like that suggests that basically in that situation, the person has actually been placed in the wrong pool, right? In order to do the exam. And unfortunately for you also, I want to tell you, right, that for better or for worse, like there's a reality in our world today, right, that people tend to chase for A stars. And when they chase for A stars, what they do is that they will try to essentially get into the second language pool with the intent of essentially going into the second language pool so that they can get A star. So if you're competing, so because this is an international examination, right? So like what this means is that essentially they care about statistics and percentiles. Because they care about statistics and percentiles, what this means is that you're actually competing against people, right? Like you have to like realize that you're actually competing against people right here who have the goal of getting an A star in like something that's meant to be a second language exam. So it's not gonna be as easy as you think, like just because you're taking like English as a second language. So you might as well, invest in taking first language, but then do well in it and then gain the skills that you need long term for, well, essentially excelling in the curriculum. Anyway, okay, so I hope that you found that interesting, and that was a good use of your time. But anyway, so to continue our discussion of the syllabus right here, so it's the first language syllabus, so to speak, they say that essentially it develops the ability to communicate clearly, accurately, effectively when you are speaking and writing. It says that you need to essentially learn how to use a wide range of vocabulary, correct grammar, spelling, and punctuation, and you have to develop a personal style and awareness of the audience being addressed. And broadly speaking, I think that that's true. Although the thing is, right, there is actually no need for you to there's actually no need for you to speak in the course of the exam. All right. So like you think to yourself that actually like yes, it will test you on speaking, but in reality, like you won't actually need to speak. Because I mean, speaking is not really a part of your grade, right? Because your exams and it was not a part of my grade, by the way. Like when I eventually got the A star, right? Like I didn't even take the speaking exam at all. Like you can get basically a grade of like 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever for like speaking, right? But that's a totally separate component and it does not count towards your A star. Like basically anybody in the world, right? It doesn't matter who, like you can be like a 5-year-old or whatever, right? You can sign up for the IGCSE exam right now. You can go ahead, take the exams, and then boom, like then you'd be kind of like done right here. Anyway, so basically your assessment is subdivided into 2 things, right? So first thing, reading paper. Second thing, basically, oh, I'm sorry. It cannot be a second thing because there are 2 options. I have to split my finger in half. Anyway, so like basically first paper, reading paper. Second thing is essentially like a writing assessment. Okay, so what do I mean by I say like writing assessment? So yeah, so like essentially it's well either an exam paper for those of you who are well okay with actually writing like contemporaneously in the course of class, and or you can have a coursework portfolio, which is basically like you write a bunch of descriptive and narrative essays right there. Anyway, so you don't know what these are just yet right here. I will show them to you, so don't worry about that. But anyway, so 2 types of assessments, both count for 50%. So yeah, let's go ahead and look at that. When I say like basically reading, right? So yeah, like you understand shortly. Okay. So all right. First I'll show you paper 1, right? So and I'll also, by the way, briefly explain to you this sort of like folder structure right here, right? So I tend to work with past year papers, and that's one of the things that I do at the outset, right? Just to showcase to you exactly what the exam is like, right? It's essentially, well, a class type whereby like we'll essentially look at different aspects of the exam papers, right? Each week, and then train the skills that are kind of like related to that. Of course, like, there's a possibility that some of you, right, you may not have learned certain skills just yet, but don't worry, because like those are things that we will address basically in homework, and also like in a general sense in the course of like lecture, right? When we talk about like how to write summaries, how to essentially like improve certain aspects basically of your writing here and there. And also like there's plenty of different resources right here. So like I mean, there are some like frequently asked questions which I often get, right? Like for example, like how do you write a summary? How do you even do this right here? But I think that you guys are not even at the level where you've started asking those questions just yet because you've not really done the exam paper. But I can tell you for a fact that like people have asked me these questions like so many times to the point that, well, yeah, like it's just more common than not that I'll be able to give you an answer to a question that you've not identified just yet. But of course, like again, right, you should not feel afraid to ask questions just because other people have asked them before. Like that's essentially how you learn, right? Like you have to undertake learning as a pathway. And so kind of like thinking actually about this whole pathway right here. I mean, like you can think of like almost the journey, right, through essentially doing well in the exam as being analogous to a kind of like journey where you are kind of like going through, right, different steps right here in order to develop mastery almost. It's kind of like a game, right? Learning how to do well on the different questions, learning how to essentially confront every single one of them right here. But okay, I'll just show you the questions right here, and also yeah. All right, yeah. So I was explaining the folder structure to you. Okay, so notice over here. So what you have is like each file right here. It starts with a 0500. That's a subject code. So different subjects, you have different subject codes. Okay, so I think basically if you are taking like English as a second language, then it'll be 0510. If you're taking like math, then basically that it will be 0580 or whatever. So like those of you out there, there was like hyper woke students of the 21st century. I guess that you guys know like what this is already. So yeah, like wait, how many of you know? Like okay, amongst the people who said that they did past year papers before, Gabriella, have you seen like these files before? Seems kind of familiar to you. Like or do you have them normally in like printed form?
Printed form, yeah.
Or printed form. Okay. Yes, Sinyi, how's it going? What's up? Yes.
I have done past year papers before on grade 7.
Ah,
Well, it's like science and math only. English, not really,
I
because
see. Okay. I see. Okay. Small correction. It would be technically in grade 7 because like if you say on grade 7, then that would imply essentially being physically on top of grade 7 right here, which I guess most speakers essentially might not well understand, at least in the context of like standard English. I mean I understand what you said, although it's just a more common expression to essentially say in grade 7, because like that would imply that you are within the duration or period of time in which grade 7 was essentially taking place. And yeah, it's just more common to essentially express yourself in that way. So that's the explanation that I would give. Anyway, so it's not necessarily wrong per se, but it's just to say that like that's the more commonly understood way of expressing it. But yeah, we can talk about that later if you are interested. Anyway, so okay, for the structure, so 0500 right there. So I'm gonna annotate this right here. 0500. Oh, hello, new participant. Let me see right here. All right. Okay, cool. So now, just to draw a little bit. So 0500. So this is the subject code right here. So the W right here is basically the examination session. W means winter, so that means like October, November. IGCSE basically takes place 3 times a year, 2 internationally, for essentially places like say Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand, Hong Kong, and the other places that essentially make use of the IGCSE, that kind of thing. 3 in India. India basically has a March session right here. So whenever you see like M22, so that's basically a variant that's given essentially to students from India. Okay. So then QP basically means question paper, should be like pretty obvious to you guys right here. And okay, then you have MS, which basically stands for mark scheme. Okay. So mark scheme is, well, it tells you like essentially the criteria for doing well and for not doing well, basically in the context of the exam. And IN, right, is basically insert. Notice that like on the left side of my screen right here. So like notice that I already opened this thing, right? See, like paper 1 reading, insert. Okay. The reason for this insert thing is that like when you actually open up your exam paper on the day of the exam, so what's going to happen is that you're going to have like, well, the question paper is essentially just going to be on your desk, right? Then the invigilator is just going to be like staring like out there into the distance as if contemplating some deep philosophical question about your fate, but actually he's probably thinking about what he wants to have for lunch or something of that nature right there. Important, but don't knock lunch, like lunch is important. But anyway, so yeah, like he's just yeah, going to give you like this paper right here, he or she. I mean, like, so you have the paper and then you open it up, then essentially, yeah, you'll find the insert inside. And you basically have to read the insert in order to answer the questions, okay? Then, yeah, mark schemes, you already know what those are. GT, grade threshold. So these tell you essentially like how the students, so these essentially are the documents from which the statistical analysis that I compiled earlier essentially, well, derive, I guess, like their validity. So then, yeah, you can see essentially like these tables right here. This is not the main focus of our present session, but I just thought that you should know. Examiner reports. These are basically reports written by each of the examiners to essentially tell you, well, essentially like the examiner committee is going to come together, convene, and then basically like explain all their findings about the different questions right here. And these will tell you essentially about like all the different parts of essentially the exam papers for each individual exam session. And okay, I think like today I'm going a bit more into talking about like this folder structure also because I think that most of you are new. So like, I think it's beneficial for you to know about this. But okay, now I want you guys to know, right? Okay, so I want to ask you guys, right? Like, why is there 1, 2, 3 here? Can anybody give me an answer? Anybody? 1, 2, 3. Like, why is it that like there are all these like ones, 1 right here, 2 right there, 3? Anybody knows? 1, 2, 3. Okay, does anybody know? Can I ask?
Do they represent the year?
No, they don't.
The past?
Actually, no, they don't. Good try, but actually so you see the 22 over here, right here where my cursor is actually located. Yeah, so the 22 over here, this actually represents the year. So the folder, right, is actually subdivided into like different years, right? So actually, if you open it up right here, then what you will find is that essentially, all right, so let's just go right here for a quick bit. So like you notice that like there's like 2021, 2020, 2020, that kind of thing right here. So inside here, so you notice that every single one of these starts with a W21, right? So that tells you actually that this is a winter 2021 paper. So yeah, so that is what tells you the year. But actually the 1, 2, 3 right here, these are actually a consequence of the fact that the IGCSE is an international exam. So since the international exam is taken by people all across the world, it's not like everybody are just taking it in Malaysia, right? So if everybody is taking the exam in Malaysia, okay, so this one I have no slides. I will just like tell you about this. But it's good for you to know also. If everybody is taking the exam in Malaysia, then you all be in the same time zone, right? Unless of course, like, you know, there are some people like from, I don't know, like America, some weirdo out there is like, hey, I need to take the Malaysian SPM for my future. No. Yeah. Doesn't work that way. But anyway, so if you're in Malaysia, then all of you are going to be in the same time zone. So since you're all in the same time zone, that means that all you can take the exam at the same time. So in fact, that's what happens. You can basically just go to exam center, take the exam, done. But if let's say that you are basically let's say that you're in Malaysia, and then basically then there are people in the UK, right? So then there are going to be essentially a certain number of hours in front of you or behind you right here. So like in fact, time zone basically London. Right. So basically I believe it's GMT +1. So they're basically like 7 hours behind you. So if they're 7 hours behind you, right, then doesn't that technically mean, so like, okay, when you take an exam, it needs to be at either 1 o'clock or like 1 p.m., 3 p.m., that sort of thing right there, or maybe it can be in the morning as well, right? So then technically what might happen is that if you basically have, well, a 3 p.m. paper, right, then what can happen is that maybe your friend who's taking the exam at 9 a.m., right, they can receive the paper from you, right? If let's say that every single person across the different time zones, right, they have essentially the same exam paper, that every single person, right, like you can just cheat. You can just send the exam paper over to the next person and then they can just like copy it. I mean, like they can just like learn the questions and then like do well, kind of thing. I don't know, like maybe you're like very kind. You know, you just have like your friend from Britain who is very bad at English. Hey, I mean, you laugh right now, but no, seriously, like there are people out there in England, right, who will probably have like worse English compared to you. Like seriously, just because you're in Malaysia or you live in Malaysia, right, don't look down on yourself, okay? Like you're in this class right now. Like the whole point of this is to make you good at English, okay? So it's basically an expected thing that you can become better at English compared to the average like British citizen. That's the point, right? That's okay. I mean, like it's not a guarantee, lah, right? Like, cause like, you know, you may have not been exposed to English throughout the course of your life. Hey, okay, so question. So, okay, how many of you, right, English is actually your first language? Because I know that this is a first language English trial class, right? So like actually your first language. So like if English is actually your first language, then please hit 1 in the chat. If 0 is not, then basically then yeah, like hit 0. What? Okay, it's actually your first language. Okay. Phew. Whew. Whew. It's the easiest to speak, but 0. Okay. All right. Okay. 0. It's not your first language. Okay. Then C is like 0. Okay. No problem. I mean, like, don't need to be shy. I mean, like, okay. Okay. Sun, can I ask, like, what's your first language?
It's Chinese.
Oh, Chinese. Oh, 挺好的. Okay. I'm sorry that nobody says that in Malaysia. Okay, 很好. Okay, amazing. Yeah. Okay. Great. 也会说一点点. So like but I'm not gonna like exclude people who don't like speak in Chinese here, so I will maintain the class in English. But I actually used to go to a Chinese school, by the way. So like so if you are thinking at the outset, right, like, oh, you know, I just transitioned to an international school, boo-hoo, I'm so disadvantaged. I can say this the cruel way, or I can say this like the non-cruel way. The cruel way is like nobody's gonna pity you because like honestly like everybody else is gonna be going through a similar situation right there. And anyway, yeah. I could say that in a much crueler way, but I try to be more kind there. But like I guess like more kind way of expressing it is, and it's true, it's not to say that it's false, right? But you can get better at English if you actually practice and you understand or learn how to make use of mark schemes and stuff of that nature. Okay, now just to showcase to you again, the paper right here. So then, yeah, so reading is basically going to be a reading paper. So you have essentially a set of texts. So in fact, you will have a grand total of 3 texts right here. What you have to do basically is, well, answer reading comprehension questions. Okay, so then like what you have to do is basically give examples of types of endurance events other than ultra marathons. Okay, so then basically in this case right here, so notice that like the text didn't tell you, oh, exactly, so like there are many types of endurance events such as triathlons and adventure races. No, you have to kind of like from the text, right, understand, oh, okay, so this is the information that's been conveyed. This is what I need to basically present right here. So you can actually go ahead, write it down straight away. Straightforward, but maybe not so straightforward if you're more used to those like very direct reading text where you just have to like, oh, okay, all right, so this is the information. Okay, bagus. Okay, put it in. All right, done. But in fact, in order for you to do well, right? So chances are that you will have to actually learn how to use your own words in order to answer the exam paper. And why do you need to use your own words? It's important to use your own words, right? Because and I'm going to tell you about the principle behind this with the hope that that's going to be valuable for you. The idea behind using your own words and why that is important for you is that if you are unable to use your own words and if you are only able to parrot or copy essentially like what has been presented to you in a exam paper, like say in the insert or whatever, right? It showcases very easily that you are only able to retrieve information and you do not understand it. You know where the information came from, but there's no guarantee that you actually understood it. The point of being able to demonstrate that you are using first language English, you are doing well in the first language English, right, is to demonstrate I not only know where the information came from, but I can actually understand it, I can analyze it, I can actually utilize it in multiple different contexts, I can write essays from it, I can describe, I can utilize every single thing, right, in order to create a coherent response. So, I mean, you can see right here that these are mark schemes right here. And essentially you can see that in the course of essentially the next question right here, there's essentially a little bit, and honestly, like in the course of an actual class, right, when we have more time, I will like ask you guys to actually like explain your reasoning to me, but because this is a trial class, so it's limited what we can actually do. But you do have to use your own words. In order to do well in this exam, you must actually follow what they're asking you to do. Like if you want to know, like basically like what's the difference between 1 mark or 2 marks kind of thing, then look at this right here. Like it's actually telling you for a full explanation. Some of you in school, maybe like you write out like a single explanation right there. You're wondering, oh my gosh, no lah teacher, no lah ma. I think that this teacher just doesn't like me, you know. That's why I cannot get full marks. You see, like you look at this teacher, look at her face. She's obviously evil. I bet that she was dropped on her head when she was a baby or something of that nature, right there. No, no. Having said that, okay, there can be some situations where your teacher is like kind of like suboptimal, okay? I'm not going to deny that right there, but I'm just going to say that, like, okay, actually, like, should I really be encouraging you to rebel against your teachers? I feel like I should not be asking you guys to rebel against your teachers. No. Abandon that thought. But actually, okay, anyway. All right, so anyway, yeah, so this is something that you're going to be seeing right here. You need to understand, analyze, and respond right here. I am going to tell you right now that basically 1A until E are probably going to be like not super difficult for you. This one right here requires you to evaluate a little bit, right? To explain, right? Okay, why some Ironman competitors might still like to compete in marathons, as it were. So you actually need to read a paragraph and then from here, then go right ahead and explain, okay? So you may notice that actually the type of text right here is actually a little bit different, as it were, compared to, I mean, like what the text is actually conveying right here is a personal experience, right? So like it's written in first person. It's like literally telling you, hey, I can testify that the feeling of sweeping down the finish chute after 226 kilometers to pumping pop music, flashing lights, and a cheering crowd is the ultimate buzz, okay? So then yeah, now might like to compete in marathons, okay? So quietly, okay, so like in this case right here, so it does say that there's a overwhelming inner sense of achievement right here. So then you have to essentially like find possible reasons as to why it is that essentially these people might want to go right hit and yeah, run a marathon. So it could be various different things that you need support essentially from the text, right? Like perhaps essentially these, I guess, like athletes, perhaps they enjoy like the feeling of achievement associated with completing such a strenuous physical feat. They prefer perhaps I guess exceeding their own physical limitations or various other things of that nature right here. So sometimes like you may have to come up with your own personal reasons as it were. And but in most cases what you have to do is actually defer to what the text is actually telling you right here. But the thing is that you cannot directly get your answer from the text. That's something that you have to get comfortable with as you kind of like learn how to make inferences. And I can tell you right here that this is like summary writing right here. So summary writing, right? Okay. How many of you out there actually think that summary writing is easy? I'm just curious. Like, can I get like a 1 for like easy? I mean like easy. Then basically 0 for like not easy. Okay. Then 0 not easy. Okay, all right. All right, Karina, 0 0 0 0 0. Okay, fine. I think that you wrote that in binary or whatever, but like I think that's like that's still not easy. Okay, fine. Amanda, you have yet to speak in this class right here. Why is it not easy? Why do you think so?
I think the finding points is a bit challenging, not direct.
Yeah, it's not direct, right?
Yeah.
Why do you say it's like not direct actually?
You have to change the points a bit,
Yeah.
and also you have to
Mhm.
understand the text really well in order to get the points
yeah.
out.
For sure,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Because and Amanda, you're absolutely right. Because here, right, think about it. Like okay, let me just tell you right here, terrible and terrifying, and I get sidetracked easily. Okay, understandable, yes. Most of you think that's difficult. Okay, fine. I accept that. And yes. So just like from I guess like standard issue, like, okay, let me just tell you, right? If you let's say want to write let's say every single point, right, in the summary right here, and you don't actually synthesize or shorten the points, right, then what's going to actually happen is that you will quickly beat the word count. Like you will write above the requisite number of words. There will not be enough words for you to actually finish writing. So yes, you're absolutely right that you need to actually understand the text, right? And one thing that I always tell people, right, is that writing a summary is not just about writing a summary, right? It's not like you can just like take the paper and then just like start writing everything down like here and there, because you actually need to understand the text and how the things actually relate together. Those are all things that like in time you will explore a little bit more with me. But yeah, so absolutely it is not easy. But even for this, right? So it is good to understand the marking criteria, right? And again, I say that it's necessary but not sufficient for you to be able to grade your responses, because level 5 is like effective response that demonstrates a thorough understanding of the tasks right here, understanding of a range of relevant ideas, consistently well focused, skillfully selected to demonstrate overview. That's exactly what Amanda, you were mentioning right earlier, right? Like it's difficult to choose points. It's one of the things that they actually assess you for. So yeah, it's indeed a thing right there. With concision, by the way, means you shorten things. You take 3 to 4 points and you shorten them essentially together essentially. Generally speaking, a rule of thumb, right, is that like as long as you find about like 7 to 8 points thereabouts, right, then you're good. That's why I would argue right here. But at the same time, you need to actually like combine them together in ways that are relevant to the prompt. So like a common thing that a lot of students do is that they, in fact, well, just don't follow the prompt. They kind of, in various ways, just struggle, right? Because they will essentially try to like summarize the entire thing, or they think to themselves that, oh, I need to, for example, write out every single thing in the order that it was presented. You don't need to do that. No, like you need to just learn how to intelligently select the points out there. And so I too am not perfect at it, right? But I did get an A-star for the exam, and I do teach this subject, and it's something that we can figure out together, right? Because like even if somebody says that they are your guru, that kind of thing, right? Like it's not productive to say that like somebody is like a guru right there, because like at the end of the day, like what happens is that like you yourself need to like somehow be in the exam itself. So I will always acknowledge that, and I commit that as your instructor, I will basically keep on telling you, hey, keep an objective view of your own abilities right there. Like don't get too like caught up with everything right there. Let's focus on building the skills right there. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, now there are going to be other questions right here, but in order to, I guess, like serve the descriptive writing, I guess, like demonstration, if we can, then I would like to maybe like not go through too extensively all of these things right here. But I would like to highlight one question that many of you are going to have like some trouble with. It is the writer's effect component of the exam. I'm not sure if like any of you have done writer's effect before, but like for many people, like actually there's like many people find this a nightmare. I don't know whether like some of you have like some experience with that. I feel like amongst the people who Gabriella seems to have like pursed lips right here. I don't know, like have you done writer's effect before? No,
Yeah.
yes. You have? Okay. What do you think? Good.
It's a little confusing sometimes.
A little confusing sometimes. Okay, yeah, understandable. Yeah, not super easy to do that right there. I do have a structure that can help you with that, but at the same time, well, being able to actually analyze language, that is something that you do need to learn as well. And yeah, so like I do have a writer's effect guide which you guys can actually reference a little bit later on if that is something that you would like to. Let me just see right here. Okay. So writer's effect guide. Oh, okay, so there was a whole discussion right here. We do talk about these quite a fair bit. I do also have resources on my site about writer's effect as well, and you can actually reference that. I think that one's like free, and you can actually read this, and you can like kind of like decide for yourself, right? Like what needs to actually be done. There is essentially a structure right here, which is to basically like talk about how the overall effect of this paragraph is to. So like the whole idea here is that you're supposed to talk about the language and like the choices that were actually made along the way, and you need to like analyze like, okay, why is it that the words that were used led to this particular effect? So it's not a trivial exercise. You actually have to think for a little bit, right? And see how it is that you have been persuaded, how it is that other people may be persuaded, and various other things of that nature. So again, not trivial and not something that we can go through just in the course of just this discussion. Anyway, so that's writer's effect. So then now, all right. So the next thing right here that you have is the last question on the paper, which is basically extended response to reading. All right. And what you need to do right here is that you need to read this, well, question right here, and you need to read the text, right? And then from there, well, respond to, well, all of these different questions right here. It is here, right, that actually you need to pretend that you are Sam, okay? And by the way, this is where, like, for a lot of people, actually, like, that is a challenge, right? Because many people, especially if you haven't actually spent a lot of time reading, right, you may have some trouble with what we call linguistic displacement. Doesn't seem familiar to you, right? Okay. That's because it's a linguistics concept. It is a term, right, that I use to essentially explain the concept of like being able to separate yourself from like essentially the present time, the present place, to be able to think of like hypothetical scenarios, right, that essentially do not really relate to the present situation. Imagine that you are somebody else living in another world. You occupy a different body, a different soul, and navigate through an environment that you are not personally experiencing, simply through the force of your vocabulary and through your understanding of the way that words relate to one another in order to conceptualize a reality that essentially you can see in your mind's eye, and that your reader will be able to see in their mind's eye once you actually put down things right there. But that is a skill that requires like some practice, as it were. And yeah, by the way, like it's an interesting thing right there. If you actually try to like, have you ever wondered if animals could communicate with one another? Because they can, right? But like this word that I've just described for you right here, the word displacement, displacement, is one of the things that actually distinguishes human communication from animal communication. The Cambridge philosopher Ludwig Wittgenstein once said, the limits of my language are the limits of my world right here. And yeah, it is true. I do believe that very much to be true. And it's something that you can evaluate over the course of the time that we are essentially together. So that's essentially your paper one. It's very reading heavy. And you might think to yourself that this is very just like writing right here. What does it have to do with reading right here? The fact is, in order for you to understand what a character is like, what they might say, what they would actually do in a certain situation right here, you have to understand like what is going on right here. So then yeah, this is essentially a situation right here where you can you will have to talk about like things like how you need to prepare for a challenge like the Ironman, for example. So like in this case right here, you could essentially see that. So like if we just read this right here, then you can actually have a sense of like what's going on, right? So like it says right here, June was all about Ironman. Endless weekends with Sam, gone until 5 p.m. each day. After exercise, he would need to sleep for an hour or so. Thus, he was technically gone for longer. I was desperate for us to go away and have a break from it. So like from here, the inference is that so in order to prepare for an Ironman, you need to dedicate your body, mind, and soul towards preparing for the event. No part of your preparation can be sacrificed, and you will need to dedicate endless hours towards preparing for it. Because in order to ensure that you will actually survive the event, you must heighten your physical strength and your mental perspicacity and persistence to the point whereby you can actually stand the challenges of the journey. Something of that nature right there. It's not something that's like directly inside the text, right? But I can see that it is the case because you can see that obviously it's like very much well related to, you know, like peak physical performance, mental sustenance, and so on and so forth right here. So you can talk about like how Ironman affected other areas of your life. So like that would be essentially, well, a part where you can talk about how, you know, I had to sacrifice like my own personal time and had to make arrangements in order to make sure that my son was taken care of. So not abandoning my parental responsibility while essentially stuff of that nature right there. And by the way, like you don't just have to think about all those things, right? So you also need to be able to remember, right, that you're in the context of an interview and you need to understand the format of the text and also like the way that it is done right here. But no worries. Again, I have resources for this right here. Don't worry, your boy is well prepared. And yeah, I mean, like, yeah, so like it's a thing, and you'll get access to all these different types of guides right here in this class. Do I have it actually? Can't remember exactly the title, but anyway, it should be there. Let's see, resources, and then basically then what do we have here? Text types. Let me see. Okay, let me just see right here. Yes, text formats and structures. Yeah, so like you can see actually that like here's a bunch of different types of text essentially that you can essentially make use. I mean, like you can think about these structures as guides. They're not perfect by any means, right? But yeah, you guys are going to get this as part of your enrollment in the class. But yeah, so of course, just because you have resources does not guarantee that you will use them, but I encourage you to use them. And yeah, so like it will help you quite a fair bit in the course of your preparation. Anyway, so kind of moving on. All right, so there's that. And really briefly, with essentially your paper two, this is more of like a writing paper. So, well, like the paper one, what you have is essentially, well, a set of texts in this case right here. So it's text A, text B. What you have to do is you have to read essentially two texts and then write a response right here about, in this case, bilingualism. So you have to like basically, well, write a letter to your relative giving your views about whether it's a good idea for them to move to another country. Yeah. And yeah. The situation or the context here is that they and their teenage children have to learn a new language. So here you have to write a letter. And you might be thinking, right, actually, like, how is this actually really different from the extended response to reading? In both situations, you have to essentially read something and then you have to write something from it, right? The answer to that is that if you actually look at the distribution for marks, right? So in fact, and by the way, normally I would dedicate more time towards like in fact a descriptive writing demonstration right here, but like some people actually specifically recommend, like they specifically ask for more focus on like elucidating the exact structure right here, which is why I'm going in this particular way. I hope that we will have time for some descriptive writing demonstration, but it may be difficult actually to do that. And also fulfill your request right here if you object otherwise strongly right here, then I'm sorry. But yeah, you can always enroll in the class, and yeah, then we'll do that much more in the course of like class per se. So anyway, now I'm just gonna show you like the mark schemes right here, and you're gonna understand right pretty soon where it is that these are different. I'm gonna duplicate this, and what you're gonna see in front of you are essentially paper 1 mark schemes and essentially paper 2 mark schemes, right? So just to illustrate the differences right here. So essentially, like if you look at the extended response to reading, which is basically question 3, so notice that essentially what happens with the question 3 right here is that essentially, all right, so in this case, reading is 15 marks essentially, and then writing is 10 marks, okay? So 15 out of 25, and you compare this over to essentially what you have for directed writing, which is also an exercise where you have to read some text, right? And then essentially write something in response to a prompt right here. In this case, the ratio is different. It's basically 25 for writing and 15 for reading. The point of this is that your directed writing is more focused on like, can you actually read the text and then from there, right, create something that's a little bit more free. Like the directed writing, even though they say it's like directed, right, it does actually like give you more room for like evaluation, and actually it gives you more room for like being able to come up with like something that's like logical. And that's one of the reasons that a lot of students actually they find it like pretty difficult in different ways right there, especially like if they're just transitioning from, and I have to acknowledge that actually like the SPM or like essentially like a PT3 curriculum right there is significantly more simplistic compared to like what you are seeing right here. And I acknowledge that that is going to be part of the challenge right here. But when you are faced with a challenge, do not shirk away from the challenge. Do not say that the challenge right there is basically very bad. Your teacher doesn't like you or whatever right there. No, I encourage you not to do that right there. Like Malaysia has literally just produced its very first international mathematical Olympiad double gold medalist right here. It has produced essentially gold medalist for IOAA and also like for the IPHO as well right there. So like these people rose to the challenge right there. You are Malaysians. The fact that you're Malaysian is like not really ultimately that consequential, right? I mean like maybe you might have thought to yourself, oh, you know, I'm Malaysian, whatever, like that's super important, whatever. But as a human being, right? I'm just saying like this is like beyond nationality. As a human being, you have the ability to rise to challenges right here. So don't let any like perception of your prior background just restrain you from these things. Anyway, this is a writing paper. Okay, so anyway, so it's more focused on writing. And what you have to do is evaluate ideas, opinions, attitudes. You have to read these texts right here, and then essentially, well, from there, go into explaining different things. Wish that we could go more into this, but we cannot because of time constraints. I'm not going to keep you guys like beyond the duration of this class. But essentially, okay, the last thing that I would like to highlight to you is essentially that okay, there are a couple of different types of questions right here in the second section of essentially the paper 2, which is essentially composition. Okay, so this is actually where like you guys get to like test your writing skills, you know, like in a fun way, you know, like to create like different kinds of stories, descriptions, or things of that nature right here. And yeah, so it's the last part essentially of your IGCSE. It's like the last thing that you're gonna see like right when you're finishing that exam right here. Okay. And I would argue it's probably the most enjoyable part. And you can either do descriptive writing or narrative writing. Okay. So then all right. Now, descriptive writing is basically just the art, right, if you will, of creating a good description. Can anybody just really briefly tell me, in like I don't know, like 30 seconds or so, what's the difference between descriptive and narrative writing? Anybody? Junyi. Wow, you're not even taking like a year 10 exam, but I mean like I'm just gonna ask you right here. Yes, Junyi, like what's the difference between descriptive and narrative writing?
I'm not so sure, but I think narrative writing is like uh essays that narrate over something. I'm not sure.
Okay, no worries. Yeah, thank you for trying. Descriptive writing is basically just think of it as trying to create a painting with words. Okay, so like you're essentially going to create something that evokes certain senses for people, that makes people see certain things, right? That allows them essentially to immerse themselves in a world that you have created, essentially, so to speak. And it's purely based on like descriptions. It should be focused on like think of it as like creating a picture, right, that other people can imagine right here. And yeah, so on the other hand, narrative writing, right? So narrative writing, I have a whole like presentation of like different things right here about like different stories and narratives and like lots of different things right here. Myths across cultures, fairy tales. Yes, indeed, Pokemon is indeed an example of a fairy tale. You may notice that there are a lot of Pokemon like here in this household at the moment, at this point in time. These two are childhood myths. Anyway, okay. So those are things that we'll talk about a little bit more, but not today, once again. But essentially, yeah, so like if you think about like narrative writing right there, it's like how well do you tell a story right here? How do you actually create plot characterization? How do you make things that are convincing, believable? How do you create suspense and all those other sorts of things right here? And creating a story right there, I can tell you beforehand that it can be seen as more complicated compared to creating a description right here. And some people actually avoid this actively. And if you join the Thursday class at the moment, so like we are currently going through narrative writing. There are about 15 students. Of course, I know that's how you ask at the moment. Although I may open up a different time slot at a later point in time, although that's not confirmed at the moment. But yeah, so basically narrative writing is like how do you tell stories? How do you in fact create something that's good right there? And in fact, there is essentially a way of evaluating what a good story actually is right here. And if you actually take a look right at the mark schemes right here, and I think that we do have time to create a demonstration. I just don't know if we have time to actually like finish the entire thing. But anyway, let's give it a shot. All right, maybe let's okay, paste this right here. Describe the preparations you make for an important journey. Okay. Now I'm just gonna go right ahead and try to do this on my phone right here. You'll understand why I'm like interested to do this on my phone at the moment, but okay, let's see right here. You may notice that there is essentially right now like another me right here. That's basically because I'm using my phone to access this document at the moment. But yeah, so like you'll understand why in a quick bit right here. It's the consequence of what we call AI technology. If you think that sounds unhinged, like wait till you see what happens. Anyway, yeah, like to do well in essentially descriptive writing, generally speaking, what you do need to do is that you need to pay attention to the marking areas. So like content and structure, okay? And also, so like content and structure. So like if you are doing well according to the content and structure criteria, basically your content must be complex, engaging, and effective. The structure must be secure, well balanced, and carefully managed for descriptive effect. Okay, so there must be well defined and developed ideas and images that create essentially a picture right there that is, well, that can essentially be convincing right there with a varieties of focus. Okay, so then let's put this right here. For narrative writing, on the other hand, so you have this, but we're not focusing on narrative writing today, so that's fine. But generally speaking, this is what you need to do, right? Like if you're writing this story, then it needs to be well developed. There need to be well defined and developed ideas and images. that create a convincing overall picture with varieties of focus. And yeah, then for essentially your style and accuracy. So basically what needs to happen is that, yeah, it's kind of common sense, but kind of not as well. Precise, well-chosen vocabulary and varied sentence structures chosen for effect. Consistent, well-chosen register suitable for the context, and your spelling, punctuation, and grammar are almost always accurate. Okay, so then, all right, now let's see right here. Describe the preparations you make for an important journey. Can we write an essay in like 10 minutes? Well, in reality, the reason that I am doing this right here on my phone is that, in fact, this is the only way to write an essay like this in 10 minutes. Okay, all right, let's go right ahead and try this right here. But for now, what kind of journey is it? All right, friends, what kind of journey is it? Is it a journey where we go off, like, I don't know, to what is it again? Like, yeah, what kind of journey is this? Is this like go off to university? Like, I don't know, go on a vacation? So like 1, university, 2, vacation, 3, okay, like, I don't know, like what do you call it? So like blind date. Okay, I don't know. That's a no. All right. 4. All right. So all right. Anybody? I'm just gonna ask Casper. So like, what do you think that we should do?
I wouldn't know.
You don't know? Okay. Well. Okay. All right. Cool. Well, thank you for that contribution. Gloria. Okay. Great. So that's 2. All right. So let's actually see what happens right here. I'm not sure if we can do this demonstration, but let us see. Okay. All right. The large brown suitcase stood in front of me, holding visions of a future that I knew would soon come, but that I was mentally unprepared to face. In it lay shirt after shirt that lay neatly folded, one after another, as if like soldiers packed together in a single platoon, lining up in orderly manner, as if ready for their next action. Okay. Check this out. All right, let's copy and paste that. Yeah, you can do that. It's actually how I text message. I think like some of you out there, you might wonder to yourselves right here, why is it that this man can text message so quickly? This is the answer. The reason that this man can text message so quickly is that spoken communication takes place at 130 to 150 words per minute, while handwriting takes 13. It's basically 12 to 20 words per minute. On the other hand, spoken communication is so like typing. Yes, what's up? Yes, what? Did somebody say something? Okay, well, all right. So like, maybe if like that question comes up again, then like, let's pursue that again later. All right. So then, all right. Let's just see right here. I sighed and looked at the work that lay in front of me. Was it enough? Would it be sufficient for me to go on my epic journey? I looked at the room around me, completely neat, orderly, tidy. Everything was put in its right place. A vision that would never again be seen in the course of my daily occupancy of this place. I knew that I would be gone for a very long time. And as I took the suitcase in my hands, setting it upright, I paid attention for a brief moment to the way that the sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating my old desk in its maroon glory as I stood in the middle of the room, peering out and gazing at the mountains that lay ahead in golden sunset. By the way, like, if you're wondering to yourself, is he reading this? No, I'm not reading it. Do I seem like I'm reading it? I mean, you can vote if you want, but no, I'm not reading it. Yeah, so this is what you have right here. And yeah, like, it's just what you've got. It's not perfect by any means, but yeah, I don't know if the punctuation is actually correct. I might change it a little bit right here because like if you actually pay attention right here, it kind of created a, what do you call it? It created a dependent clause right here. So like when I say dependent clause, right, what I mean by that is that essentially the sentence cannot stand on its own. A clause is basically a group of words that essentially contains a subject and a verb, but essentially an independent clause is essentially a sentence that can stand on its own in the sense that if you put a full stop at the back of it, then it will stand as a full sentence. A dependent clause, on the other hand, is a group of words that fulfills that same criteria right there, but if you put a full stop at the back of it, then essentially it will not stand as a sentence. So what we'll do here is basically put a colon right here and put an a. A colon can only be used after an independent clause, by the way, has been made use of. That's like the sort of grammatical commentary that I'll put in right here. So then, let's see right here. Now, let's continue with where we were before. Okay, and then let's do this right here. The clock by my bedside suddenly interrupted this serene picture, alarming me with its repeated clangs, heralding the commencement of the appointed time. I looked at it and its familiar outlines, the way that it simply seemed to signal to me the beginning of a brand new era. As I paid attention once again to the room in which I had spent my entire childhood, I knew as I looked at it that I would not see this room for very much longer, and that by the end of tonight, I would be asleep in a different place, in a different time zone entirely, and that every hint of the life that I had experienced back here in Malaysia would be washed away and replaced with intimations of a new future, new people, new faces that would walk in and out of my life. Not really. Like, you think to yourself that, like, I was planning to do this all the while. No, I was not. Like, I was planning to actually just write this out. But no, like, this is the kind of thing that you can do right here. Now, let's see. By the way, like, I think that I actually have like some time to give like commentary right here. Not very much though, but notice that what I'm trying to do, right, is just paint a picture of like the overall room, right? Like different things that you can actually see right here. There is some hint of characterization, but this is very distinctly not narrative writing because I'm not showcasing essentially the progression of a plot. If it were a narrative piece, then what I would do is basically like I would go right ahead and showcase, right, characters, like different actions, different things that happen in the course of the journey. That requires a different set of skills, okay? But now I'm just describing the preparations that I make. Okay. I looked at my phone briefly, gazing at the email that held my trip information and brought up the familiar flickers of green from the Grab application. Before long, a notification popped up telling me that the car that would take me to the next phase of my life was merely 2 minutes away. And as I reflected briefly upon the room, I felt my thoughts get replaced with an impending sense of the future that was to come. And I pulled the suitcase out of the door as it rolled ceaselessly over the wooden planks that held all the memories of my childhood as my bags came along with me and the door shut, signifying the end of something that I knew I would never forget. And there you have it. You have a descriptive essay. So yeah, I mean, like, I'm not gonna ask you guys to evaluate it, but I mean, like, this is what I would probably actually write in the course of an essay, in the course of like an exam right here. The rationale for this is that it is a description. It is essentially, and of course, like, you know, in the course of class, we will actually discuss this, right? We will actually talk about, like, is that effective, is it not, or stuff of that nature right here. And like, but yeah, like, you can just go ahead and like think about it, if you'd like. But yeah, like, hit a 1 in the chat maybe if like you think that was good. 1 is okay, or good. 0, nah. Okay, all right. Anyway, in the meantime, yeah. So like, feel free to go right ahead and do that. And oh, all right. Okay, cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Now I'm just gonna go right ahead and just briefly, because I do want to respect your time as well. By basically just briefly mentioning like that this is the class for you if you would like to improve your writing vocabulary. Basically you want to understand how to succeed on an intuitive level right here. We did discuss how do you score an A star right here. Is it difficult? Maybe let's hold off on that discussion so far. Resources I think that you guys have seen already, you've seen already. And what did we do in the course of this class? We basically, you met me, you understood how it could help, you understood the first language syllabus, you understood the common challenges and roadmap ahead, you understood what you could get in this class. I actually removed the descriptive writing bit, but somehow we managed to do it. Miracle, I don't know how that happened. The class details are as such. Basically, like, if you'd like to join the class, it's essentially 1,000 ringgit for 12 weeks of sessions of 1.5 hours each prepaid, or you can opt for monthly payment as well, which is 400 ringgit for 1 month or 4 weeks of sessions of 1.5 hours each. You can enroll immediately in the Thursday class, which takes place 7:30 till 9 p.m., which is already confirmed, and you'll be joining 15 other students essentially at this point in time. And it'll be an honor to have all of you in the class right here. And yeah, so it has been a pleasure. So, all right, does anybody have any questions? By the way, so like, it's 9:01. You guys are entirely entitled to just like head out if you would like right here. But yeah, does anybody have any questions right here? By the way, like seriously, like don't feel as if like you have to stay right here if you like don't actually have a question right here. I'm actually gonna do like a little bit of a like countdown, or like just like free, like, does anybody have any comments kind of thing right here. I'm assuming that like you're okay. All right, maybe I can ask let me see, who can I ask? Sun, like, how was the class? Did you enjoy it, or
Yeah.
you enjoyed it? Okay, cool. Casper, what software do I use?